Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I just wanted to say this. Beware of half-truths. Beware of half-truths. Beware of only getting part of a story. You know, sometimes we can give people the benefit of the doubt. We may give them just way more consideration than we should because of who they are, because of how long we've known them, because of a position that they hold. And sometimes even in the best individuals, they can have a moment or they can just be deliberate deceivers. And it's very important that no matter who is telling you something, whether it's your family, whether it is your siblings, whether it is your pastor, whether it is your supervisor, whether it's your bestie, whether it's your husband or your wife, whether it's someone that you hold in high esteem or mentor, you still have to ultimately bring every cause before God and ask the Lord to reveal the hearts of people. Because there are a lot of people whose names have been just dragged through the mud. Their reputation has been destroyed because of people. Their lives have been destroyed because of consent that they were given by those in higher authority. And they destroyed people, destroyed them financially, spiritually, even physically, and other times it's, spiritually. And it was just based on manipulation. There are plenty of friendships that's been destroyed because somebody told somebody something and that was it. There are people who have been fired, who lost their jobs because they had a supervisor, a floor manager, a section manager that was deceptive. And so because that person had the ability to go to a boss or a supervisor or whatever, or set something up, they presented things in a different way to cause you to look as if you were lazy, you were incompetent, and that you were not a fit and you lost your job. As supervisors and CEOs, yes, there's a lot of responsibilities that you may have, but a part of being that way is to always take a closer look at those that you have appointed into leadership, because some of these individuals can become dictators. Some of these individuals can be abusive to their staff, and they know how to paint that picture. Let's say that there's an employee, good worker, they do a great job, they're consistent, they're on time, but there may have been some instances where the person had to take off for whatever reason. And then there may have been an instance where they did not get to finish something on time, or they forgot something. Well, a person that's vindictive and have it set out for you are going to cut and paste. They're going to take out these moments, the time you had to go home, the time you forgot you forgot to finish a project, or something happened, you made a mistake. They'll take all your little mistakes over a period of time. It could have happened once, okay, or in 1 year, and they will just find these things and bring it together. And by the time they finish writing up that report, you look incompetent, because what do? They omit the things that you have done. They omit your consistencies. They omit that you have always been able to do things. They admit that before this time your child was sick or whatever was going on, or you got diagnosed, you were consistent, you were getting high marks across the board. They will not tell you that before they became your supervisors or they were in charge, you were a stellar worker. You've never had a bad report. They're going to present things a certain way, take it to the powers that be, and now they are given the okay to terminate you or to do whatever. And so guess what? As CEOs and managers and leaders in certain positions, you have to have an eye out to be able to go through these things, to sit down with the individual that they are trying to talk you into firing or not promoting. There are plenty of wars and things that's been started, and thousands of people have been killed. Even millions of people have been killed because someone was in their feelings and wanted to prove a point. Don't like a particular group of people, so because they had an experience with one person, they take it out on others. So they have to create a narrative as to why we had to go and attack this nation, why we had to do this thing. Sometimes there are people who do things that's wrong, and then when a country retaliates or a group of people retaliate, the narrative is different. Look, they're attacking us. They're bad people. Kind of like what they did with Mordecai, right? Haman. Oh, because Mordecai would not bow down to him, he made it about this people. All the Jewish people are a danger. We need to exterminate all of them. Understand that there's still Hamans walking around that's in politics and in certain positions that's doing a lot of stuff. Because you only get part of the story. Someone started a war because of their personal feelings. Because they didn't like something or because they want something. People may come to you and tell you something about someone and it's not the truth. It's not the whole truth. There are plenty of people whose spouses have been demonized because that person did not have any sort of discretion. They just assume, well, this is a woman, she must be telling the truth. This is a good friend. He is a good friend. He has a great reputation. He's good at his job. There's no way he was abusive, or there's no way she will be lying to me. And so people just lie and lie and lie, and everybody run with it. There are individuals that get you to sign off on something to destroy somebody and to do things, and you're only told part of the story. As I was saying from Daniel chapter 5 and 6, or Daniel 6, there are situations we find here, the counselors and the astrologers and these men in positions of authority goes to King Darius because they are trying to get rid of Daniel. They want not only to get rid of Daniel, they want Daniel killed. And they went to King Darius and they said, let's do a decree that anyone who wants to, no one should be able to pray to their God or consult with any other person unless they first come to you for 30 days. And if they don't, they'll be placed in the lion's den. They don't go to him directly and say, we have a problem with Daniel. They're not going to go to him and say, we're jealous of Daniel. We're trying to find fault with Daniel, because Daniel had favor of the king and the kings prior. So they made a general statement. They went to the king and they stroked his ego. Oh, great king, may you live forever. Let's make this. Let's make this decree. And so the king agrees. And so they go and they see Daniel praying, because they know they're going to see him praying. And they come back to the king and say, oh, king, remember your decree. No one should be able to pray to their gods or seek anyone for 30 days and they'll be put in the lion's den. Well, Daniel is doing that. And so they're pushing. The king is just distraught. He doesn't want to do this, but the king has to keep his word. That can preach right there. A king has to keep his word. So Daniel is thrown in the lion's den. Of course, he is not killed. And those who try to get him killed end up being thrown in the lion's den and devoured. But here's the thing that I want to stress to you. They went to Darius with a half-truth. They had an awe against Daniel for no reason other than jealousy. They presented part of a scenario to him, but they had a vendetta. The same thing happened with Mordecai. He would not bow to Haman, who was, I guess he was like the second in command or very close to the king. And so because of that, Haman goes to King Ahasuerus with this story, not saying, Mordecai's not bound down to me and I'm mad at Mordecai. He decides he's going to present the Jewish people as a threat to the king. And so the king, being a king, feels like, well, I need to do something about it. He is incited. And so he gives out a decree to have them all annihilated. So here's this man in his feelings that decides he's going to destroy a whole group of people. Of course, it does not happen. Just so happened, the Lord wakes up the king, and the king decides he wants to take a look at his books and looks back through his history books, and because every event that happened is recorded in these books, and he happens to come across a great deed that Mordecai did that saved his life, actually. And so because of this revelation and other things, let me just tie it up. Haman, who is trying to destroy Mordecai, ends up being hung on the very gallows that he built to kill Mordecai. Him and his family were destroyed. But what do I want to stress on? The half-truth that was brought to the king. A part of the story. The king not discerning the heart of Haman. The king, Darius, not discerning the heart of the counselors that came before him, because they didn't tell the whole truth. They wanted it to seem as if it's for the good. They're trying to protect the king. We're about you, but it's their own ambition, their own vendetta. And there are lots of people that do this. There are parents who do this. They lie on their children. They present their children to society and to people, and even to the other parent in a way. There are mothers and fathers who tell lies on their children, and people are just going to believe them. There are children who have been punished, who have been beaten, who have been kicked out because somebody, that parent, just told a lie. And because of who they are, it was never questioned. Because of the position that parents hold, that parent or parents hold, they're not going to believe them. Oh, it must be true. This is their mom and their dad. This is a stepmother, stepfather. Why would they lie? And God forbid if that child used to be a troublesome child, oh, all of a sudden they're just the worst thing ever. Marriages have been destroyed with part of the story. As I said before, husbands and wives, exes have ruined the reputation of a spouse because people just believed. Pastors have ruined people's lives with half-truths. I did a video, people that have to come up with this new narrative. When they destroy you, when they do wrong, they have to dig up dirt, throw up sins and things that you may have struggled with that you shared with them for help. They use it against you, add a little bit more, embellish the story, make you look like a terrible person to hide their hand. And so people just believe. Why? This is a pastor. This is a prophet. This is a pastor's wife. This is a bishop. Oh, they know these people. They know that person. They made me cry when they gave this powerful prayer. So now you are kind of using a moment instead of discernment. And I want to encourage each and every one of you that you must be in a place and in a position in your life that you are not allowing people to tell you half-truths. There are people that come to you and ask you for prayer, ask you for help, ask you for this when they have done something they didn't tell you. You must always just put in your mind, this person's probably not telling me everything. Sometimes people don't tell you certain things because they're things that's too sensitive and they don't want to tell you. And other times people don't tell you everything because there's something they did that they're hiding. So they will tell you the reaction of the person. They will tell you the end result of what they did, but they cut out their action before. They don't tell you what they did. I was reading about reactive abuse, and it's people that they spend a lot of their time hurting people. Let's say, for example, a woman, she has a calm husband. She's been verbally abusive, mentally, sexually denies him, mistreats him. He's a good man. She just does all these things. She knows that he is, and she just goes in on him. She hits him or whatever, or maybe she doesn't hit him, but she talks down to him. He's just a quiet guy. He tries to keep the peace. She's going against him. She does that all the time. But the one time that he raises his voice and he gets angry and he slams his hands on the table and he raises his voice in anger and says what he needs to say, she's going to run with that. And she's going to say, I'm afraid for my life. He's abusive. He yelled. He banged the table. Or whatever he said, it's going to be, oh my gosh. So the focus is on his reaction and not what she did. Let's say she's always hit him. People say, oh, a man should never hit a woman. No, he probably should never hit a woman. But ladies, we can't be hitting men either. Things can happen, but it should not be something that you practice, because the strength of a man, if he really lets go on you and wail on you, us, we're going to fall like a rag doll. So she's always been abusive. As a matter of fact, I've seen this a long time ago. It's on a video. The girl is slapping the guy, scratching him in his face. He's literally walking away from her, and she's pulling him, and she's scratching him, and she's punching him in the face and doing these things. He's walking away, and she keeps going. He's trying to get away, and then the minute the guy just gets so angry, he just punches her, and she just drops. Suddenly, everybody's going, no, no, no. She's a woman. But no one is thinking, is she a woman when she's attacking him? They literally did nothing. Am I saying it's good to abuse? No. But when you start putting your hands on somebody, you got to prepare for the fact that if you're hurting someone in pain, even the most calm person, if they're trying to get away and you're caging them and you're hitting them, their anger is mounting. They're trying to control themselves. It's possible for that person to snap and bust you in your forehead. So I'm not going to say that he's abusive. No, he didn't. He hit you back. And that's one of the reasons why I teach my daughter now, don't go around hitting boys. Don't go around doing this, because you're going to meet that one guy. You may spend years hitting and hitting and hitting because it's leading you to this person that's going to dent your whole forehead in. So that would be the reactive. Oh my gosh. There's a crime show that I saw, and it was talking about this couple that was married. The guy loved this woman. They loved each other. She was having hard times. He helped her. He was there. Then he was having hard times. Well, she basically, allegedly, I have to say allegedly, she was not as understanding. Their marriage was breaking up. She was going to see someone else. All this stuff. She'd been talking down about him. He put a recorder under the bed so he could hear what she's saying, because she no longer wants to be with him. He's hearing her talking about him, calling him soft, calling him this, calling him that. They got into argument. They were talking or having a verbal argument, and she got a cup and she threw the cup. She hit him in the head with a cup. Nothing happened. He went about his business. She's bragging to her friends about this, how she hit him, and he's a softie and he's a weakling and all this stuff. And she's going to see her boyfriend, and she's getting dressed, and the husband's going, I can't believe you're going to leave me. He's getting more possessive. He's checking everything because she told him she doesn't want to be with him, right? But they're still together, but they're not going to be together. And this is going on and on and on and on and on. And finally she's going out and she's getting dressed and she's putting an outfit that he bought her in the suitcase. And he's saying, I can't believe you're just going to another man. And she goes up to him and allegedly says, well, they heard it on the recording, yes, I am going to be with another man, and deal with it. Okay. In the meantime, she slams the door, shuts the door, and she's calling up her new lover, and she's telling him, oh, he's acting up again, which means she's normally talking to her lover about her husband, and all this stuff is going on. So this is normally the quiet guy that she's been talking about and saying all this stuff, how he's so weak and he's so this and he's so that and he's so lazy, to her friends and doing what she wants to do. And this man comes in and he begins, finally the husband just cracks. He comes in the room and he beats her, to almost punches her, tosses her down, and he gets a knife and he stabs her to death in front of their child. He kills her. Was that deserved? No. Did she deserve to get hit? No. But what happened? She had a calm husband. So she kept going and going and going and going and going and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing until he finally just murders her. So my point is, people can do things, be abusive, and it can be to that extreme, or they just react and then they go running with part of the story of what happened. And the moral of that story that I'm telling you ladies out there, and men as well, those quiet ones that don't say much, leave them alone. Don't keep pushing and doing and being abusive, because sometimes you can cause a person to tip over. Are they going to be held responsible for their actions? Absolutely. But that can cost you dearly. We have to be in a position to realize that there are people who have agendas. And we have to pray and ask God to show us the truth. So we're not just following half a story. A lot of times you're fasting and praying with a liar. Sometimes you're joining hand and touching and agreeing with a person who is an abuser, who is a deceiver, who is a manipulator, a person who's disobedient, a person who is trying to destroy people, but they come and they act as if they're trying to be helpful and they just don't know what's going on. And so we must pray and ask God to open up our eyes so that we can discern, because at the same time, we don't want to dismiss everybody and say, oh, you might be lying. We don't want to do that. But most importantly, sometimes people wonder why is this not happening? Why is this not working? Why does this person keep coming back with the same issue over and over again? That's when you got to be hands off on certain things, because you don't know what's going on. Sometimes they are not telling you the whole story. Sometimes you pray, you fast, you do all this stuff, and they go right back and do the same thing. Sometimes you spend hours encouraging them and telling them stuff, and they go do the very opposite of what you said, because they already know what they're going to do. And those of you that are in the habit of telling half-truths, you may never get found out. You may have been doing it for a long time, but rest assured, God keeps a book on everything that you have done. Every person you have destroyed, every person you have lied on, every situation you have provoked and presented it as if you were the victim, every person that you have tormented at work, people who have lost their jobs because of your lying, people who have left ministries because of your lying. Your relationships that you have destroyed people's lives, hurt countless men and women, lying and then presenting yourself as the victim. Rest assured, God has seen it all. One of the things about manipulators and deceivers and skilled liars is that after a while, people will not be able to catch them. They can just get out of things. They always have an alibi. And that's because the more they lie and the more they deceive, they get better at it, because they become more and more open to the powers of darkness, who helps them to be able to just go in stealth mode and just slide out of anything. They will say something, you catch them, and they lie right in your face and said, I never said that. This is a dangerous and dark and evil person. This is the powers of darkness working within them. So over the years, no one will catch them, and they will have a carnage of people in their wake. But understand, no one gets away with anything. They may appear to be living this happy life. You may appear to be getting away with all types of stuff. You got elevated, you got this, you're in the new relationship, new marriage, you are doing this stuff, but God has not forgotten what you have done. Because some of you may want to ask God to forgive you for things, but you don't want to tell the truth. You may have asked God to forgive you, but God told you to make things right, to tell the truth about what you did, to vindicate this person by clearing their name because of what you've done, and you won't do it. And so you think you're going to give more tithes and give more offerings and open more little orphanages and knit some baby booties, and oh, it's going to be okay. But no, God sees the person you have hurt. Just like the rich man, he was rich, he had money, but he kept walking by the dog. And so there's a lot of people who do a lot of things, and God will forgive them. They ask God to forgive them for things, but they still want to walk by those they've destroyed. Don't be the person that ends up you in eternity looking up and seeing the sin that you left on. You left it unresolved. You never fixed that situation. There are people who want forgiveness, but they don't really want to make things right morally, ethically, spiritually. They don't care. They just want forgiveness. Forgive me for what I did, but I don't want to deal with that person. Forget about them. Their forgiveness means forget the pain I've done to somebody else. Forget that I lied about this situation. Yes, God can forgive you for certain things. You don't have to deal with it anymore. But there's certain things when he forgives you, he still will bring it back to you and say, look, we need to address the situation because of what you did to the person spiritually. Some things you have to just really deal with that before God, just you and him. And other things you have to face that person. You have to be truthful about something that happened. That time when this happened and you thought that I didn't do this, I did it. And other things, sometimes God will see that that may be too much for you to actually go and confess it, but he wants you to deal with it. He wants you to kind of do something. He will show you how to deal with the situation. But there are people who are vindictive, and you're not going to get away with it. There are people that's walking around that people call them narcissists and sociopaths. These are people that's filled with unclean demonic spirit. They are normally been hurt and tormented in some way throughout their lives, rejected, and they took that pain and they weaponized it. They learned how to hurt back. They learned how to withhold affection. They do these things. And so what happens with the heart, people got to realize the reason why they get so good at it is not because of you're not that good, but they're unclean spirits that begin to enter into your heart, and you become more fluid in these behaviors. And so yes, you're not, in no way are you under control where you can't make decisions. You make choices. It started with your heart. It started with your willingness to manipulate, you enjoying it, and then you kind of form a team. I have a video that I just did. It's called Death and Hell Speaks. And I will encourage you to listen to that. It's about 2 minutes, a little over 2 minutes. Let you know how the things that people may choose to do in this life, whether it's to lie, sleep around, whatever, be violent, be hateful, be racist, that will really let you know how that stuff works. But I just want to top off this video by saying, don't let people manipulate you and tell you half truths. Whether you're in ministry, whether it's your children, whether it's your husband, your wife, whether you are a CEO in a business, you own a company and someone's just telling you certain things. Sometimes it could be true, but nevertheless, have your eyes open. Be mindful of those who are coming to you and telling you things. Be mindful of those who are trying to get into a relationship with you, and there are red flags and you ignore it, or there are things that you may know about this person and they tell you something different. Granted, people may do things in the past. They were not the greatest. They made some decisions that were not good. We're not saying judge people on their past, especially if they're changing, but you have to look at their fruit right now and what they're doing, and not what they're doing in the first 60 to 90 days, but their character and how they are. Do they stay this way, or are they slipping and then trying to patch up and trying to appear to be a certain way appear to be a certain way to you? You're going to know the difference between a master manipulator, someone who is, all the little things keep coming out and falling out with this man or this woman you're trying to get into a relationship with. And they keep telling you those stories. There's always a story and there's always a situation. And then it gets to the point that they're putting it in your court. You believe me or don't believe me, it's up to you. Okay, that's when you know you got to pull up. Because now they're trying to throw their weight around to see if you care about them enough to go, oh, no, I don't believe. So then you stop asking questions. Whatever the scenario is, never believe just what people present and tell you. Pray and ask God for the spirit of discernment and his knowledge, not your paranoia, because that's different. Paranoid is when you're comparing everything to something that has happened to you and then you suspect everybody. But when you pray for God's knowledge, he's just going to reveal things to you. Things may come out in a tangible way, and other times you're just going to see what's before you. And not only will he show you, he will give you the way to deal with the situation, and you're going to have peace. So guys, let's end this video here. Thank you so much for listening. Let's continue to grow together, and God bless you.